I used to believe that family meant security, a net to catch you, not a trapdoor waiting to open beneath your feet. But that belief shattered the night my daughter stopped breathing and I realized I was completely, terrifyingly alone. My name is Lauren. I'm a pediatric nurse, a single mother, and, until recently, the invisible child in a family that never saw beyond my younger brother, Jared, their golden boy. Bellhop Bell, make sure to subscribe to our channel and tap the bell icon for more real-life stories. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Pushpin hashtag family drama hashtag real life story hashtag motherhood hashtag betrayal hashtag injustice hashtag strength hashtag single mom journey hashtag favoritism hashtag sibling story. Growing up, I existed in the shadows while Jared bathed in the spotlight. He was their miracle, athletic, charming, endlessly adored. Whenever he walked into a room, my mother lit up as though the sun had followed him in. As for me, I was always too intense, too emotional, or worse, just a phase. When I won a scholarship for nursing, it barely registered. But when Jared brought home a plastic volcano from a science fair, they threw him a backyard bash with cake, decorations, and a banner declaring him their future doctor. Ironically, I'm the one who actually became one. But I no longer let the favoritism sting. My world had narrowed to my daughter, Riley. Born too soon, so fragile she could rest in my palm, she fought for breath with the kind of silent strength that changes you. She became my everything. Even without my family's help, I kept our little world turning. Long night shifts, skipped meals, drained savings, whatever it took to keep her alive and well, I did it. Then came the call. Riley had collapsed at daycare. I don't remember the drive, only the blur of headlights and the burning panic in my chest. I ran in barefoot, having left my shoes in the car, screaming her name as if sheer will could pull her back to me. By the time I got there, the ambulance had already taken her to the hospital. The diagnosis: a rare, aggressive inflammation of the brain. She needed surgery, immediately. I needed strength, support, something solid to lean on. So I did what any daughter desperate for hope would do. I called my parents. Choking back sobs, I explained everything. My mother's reply? "Oh, that's terrible, Lauren. But tonight is Jared's birthday dinner. We've already made plans." "Can't it wait?" "Wait," I echoed, stunned. "Mom, she might not survive the night." She sighed. "I'm sure the doctors will do their best." "We'll pray. But don't make us feel guilty for celebrating Jared. It's his special day." Then she hung up. As I sat in the hospital with a paper cup of vending machine coffee and a signed surgical consent form trembling in my lap, my phone lit up with photos from their dinner, Jared in a tailored blazer, champagne flowing, sparklers behind a cake, smiling like royalty. The caption? "Celebrating our pride and joy. Hashtag blessed family hashtag golden boy." Meanwhile, my daughter was in a coma. The betrayal didn't scream, it whispered, sharp and final. And something inside me didn't just break, it solidified. They'd always made it clear where I stood in their lives. It was time I made it clear where they stood in mine. What they never bothered to understand was that I had power too, not flashy, not loud, but focused. While they were ignoring me, I was building something. I'd been saving, investing, making quiet moves. When my grandmother passed away the year before, she left everything to me, not to my parents, and certainly not Jared. I was the one who had cared for her while they sipped cocktails in Aruba. She trusted me with her fortune, and I didn't waste it. I grew it. And now, I had leverage. I didn't cry after the surgery. Not even when Riley opened her eyes, whispering, "Mommy." The tears came later, not from sadness, but from determination. The next day, I opened my laptop and called my attorney. What my parents didn't know was that their home, still legally in my grandmother's name, was tied to a trust one now controlled. The car my father drove? Also under that trust's umbrella. I had the legal right to change the locks, on their house and on their lives. I didn't make a scene. I didn't send warnings. I simply removed their access from the trust. Quietly. 4 years, they'd relied on that fund without knowing where the money came from. Property taxes, electricity bills, car payments, all handled through the inheritance account in my name. My grandmother's only request, to help them if they ever needed it. But they had never earned that help. Not when they skipped my wedding. Not when they laughed about missing Riley's birth. And certainly not when they chose dinner and selfies over my daughter's life. Next, I transferred the house deed to an LLC I had created years ago for tax purposes. Now, that LLC owned their house. Still, I waited. Timing mattered. My goal wasn't revenge, it was clarity. Weeks went by. Then the calls started. Lauren, the electric bill bounced. Can you check with the bank? My mother said in a voicemail. Your father's furious. I didn't reply. Then came the missed car payments. My father's voicemails were filled with anger. Your brother needs the car for his job. Don't let your resentment destroy the family. I archived each message. As Riley grew stronger, regaining movement and her sweet little voice, I felt more than just pride. I felt purpose. I wasn't just raising a child, I was building a future where no one would ever make her feel small or unwanted. One afternoon, while Riley sat beside me with crayons in hand, I pulled out an old photo album. Page after page of Jared, birthday parties, medals, beach trips. My mother had labeled every photo carefully. Our brilliant boy. The soul of the family. My pages? 2. One with a crooked birthday cake. One blurry shot from a school play. No caption. No date. I closed the photo album gently and placed it in a box. Their version of history no longer held power over me. I was writing my own now. The final move in my carefully woven plan began when I discovered Jared's newest obsession, launching a flashy tech startup. He had been hyping it online for months. Vague promises, big dreams, slick branding. What he didn't realize was that the mysterious angel investor backing his venture was me. Using a layered shell company, I had quietly bankrolled the launch. In doing so, I secured majority ownership and final say over every executive decision. My lawyer, sharp, strategic, made sure no details linked the investment to me directly. Jared didn't bother to read beyond the signature page. He was too busy posting photos with our parents, grinning beside champagne bottles, captioning them, "Fueled by love, powered by loyalty." The company's first investor dinner was a black tie event. I arrived in a sleek dress, heels that gave me unexpected height, and a poised smile I had saved just for this evening. At the front table, my parents laughed and clinked glasses, blissfully unaware. Jared took the stage and prepared to introduce the company's silent majority partner. He gestured toward the entrance. Heads turned. And I walked in. My mother's wine glass froze mid-air. My father looked like he'd seen a ghost. Jared stared, blinking in disbelief. Without hesitation, I stepped onto the platform, took the microphone, and said evenly, "It's strange how silence can hold power, especially the kind of silence we're taught to ignore." The room offered polite applause. Jared mumbled something, flustered. My parents stayed frozen, unsure whether to stand or run. Later, as they left, they found an envelope tucked under the windshield wiper of their car. Inside was a handwritten letter. "You weren't there when I needed you, so I came when you least expected it. You once said I was too serious. Turns out, that seriousness built everything you're standing on. Enjoy the lights. The show's far from over." I had also enclosed a bank statement. Balance, 0. Account, closed. Within a month, they would receive the formal foreclosure notice on the house they had flaunted for decades. Jared's company, now under my legal authority, was being acquired by a firm that didn't make room for sentimental hires. This wasn't revenge fueled by rage. It was deliberate, clean, surgical. That night, Riley and I drove home with the windows down, the wind in her curls, her favorite songs filling the car. She didn't know the full story, but she looked up at me and said, "Mommy, you're smiling different." She was right. For the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible. And neither was she. 2 months passed. Jared's startup crumbled, not with a bang but like a sandcastle pulled quietly into the sea. My legal team handled everything behind closed doors, no press releases, no announcements. We simply assumed control, reorganized, and sold the most valuable patents to a tech firm Jared had once dismissed as irrelevant. His staff received their termination notices one Monday morning. By Tuesday, I was the only executive listed internally. But this wasn't about the company. It was about the quiet that followed. No more boasts, no curated parties. Just silence from those who used to talk the loudest. That same week, a man in a vest delivered the foreclosure notice to my parents. No drama. Just a knock, a signature, and an envelope. They had 30 days to vacate. I'd ensured the legal process preserved whatever pride they had left. Even now, I wasn't cruel, I was simply done. But real justice arrived a week later. Riley, now mostly recovered, had entered a youth art competition in the city. She had painted a breathtaking swirl of colors and light and called it, "Things I Feel When I'm Brave." The mayor would be attending. It was a big moment. I extended an invitation to my parents. One final olive branch. They arrived late, as expected. My mother wore pearls like armor. My father shuffled behind her, quiet and unsure. They had no idea what was coming. Riley won second place. Cheers echoed through the hall. When the mayor called me to the stage to offer a few words, I stepped up. I could feel my parents' stares from the second row. "I want to thank the people who taught me what silence truly means," I began. "What survival really looks like. And what love should never feel like." I paused, then scanned the crowd and added, "I used to believe love had to be earned, that you had to prove you were worthy. But the truth is, some of us were always worthy. We just had to remember it." I turned to Riley's framed painting. "This piece," I said, "proves that courage is passed on, not always through blood, but through the choices we make. My daughter fought for her life, and I chose her. Every time. Even when others chose birthday dinners and balloons instead." Silence followed, but it wasn't awkward, it was powerful. My mother's lips pressed into a tight line. My father stared at the floor. Then the mayor stepped up, smiling warmly. "We're proud to announce a new fund for pediatric healing arts across the state, named after the woman who made it possible. The Riley Grace Foundation, fully funded by Lauren Matthews." Applause. Gasps. A few tears from strangers in the crowd. I knelt beside Riley. She looked at me with wide, shining eyes and whispered, "Did I do good, Mommy?" I kissed her forehead. "You did perfect." My parents didn't come over afterward. They said nothing. But as they slipped out, I noticed them passing a reporter taking photos near the door. By morning, headlines would circulate, "Mother builds empire while carrying daughter through recovery." Anonymous donor behind local healing programs revealed. There was no mention of the parents who didn't show up. They simply didn't matter anymore. A week later, my father called. I let it go to voicemail. Then came an email from my mother. Subject: "Please talk." I forwarded it to my assistant, shut my laptop, and walked outside. Riley was laughing on the adaptive bike I had designed for her, the sun hitting her curls like strands of gold. That laughter, the pure sound of it, was all I ever needed to hear. They missed the greatest celebration of my life. Not a wedding. Not a launch. Not an award. The moment I rose, without them, and never looked back. Movie Camera, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more inspiring stories. World Map, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from?